What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to talk about aiming, as you probably guessed by the title and thumbnail. Obviously, aiming is super important because it's what actually gets the arrow where you want it to go. If we didn't aim, we'd just blindly be shooting arrows at a target hoping that it hit. Obviously, aiming matters a lot, and there's a couple things in this video that I want to break down for you, both things that you can do with your bow to help improve your aiming, but also things you can do in your form to help improve your aiming and get that pin just to absolutely sit there dead center where you want to hit. Real quick before we get into that, I want to say huge announcement here on KodiakGear.us, my own personal shop. We're still running our pre-order sale on the Apex binocular harness system, but that's only going to last through the end of this week because production ends next week. Super exciting. So they will start shipping out next week. We're going to take 10 more pre-orders. And if you guys didn't know, I'm running this special where you basically just pay for the harness, you get the accessory system for free, so our nice enclosed rangefinder pouch and our zipper pouch, all for free if you use the code pre-order at checkout. So make sure you guys check it out. And we still got some sweet t-shirts in stock. You guys can kind of see this one. It's a little covered up by the harness, but we're running a Black Friday sale on t-shirts this weekend. So all shirts are 15% off, but if you bundle, you get 2 shirts and you'll get a third one for free. Just add 3 shirts to your cart and you'll get that third one taken off entirely for free. Make sure you check it out, KodiakGear.us in the description below. Now, let's get into the topic of the video. Like I said, aiming. And we're gonna start out with some fundamentals of basically how you aim. So keeping it real simple for those of you just starting out, you have a peep sight on your string here in the bow. Whenever you draw back, you're not just looking at your pin sight, your frontal sight, but it's like iron sights on a rifle where you have a rear sight and a front sight and you have to line the two up. Whenever you draw back with your bow, you're gonna look through that peep sight and then line that peep sight with your frontal sight housing. So I'm not gonna try to get the pin that I'm aiming with in the center of my peep sight. You'll never get that perfect. You just want your peep sight to actually match your housing. And what I mean by that is obviously both of your sights are a circle. So your peep sight is a circle, your sight housing is a circle, and you basically just want to line up that peep sight circle around the ring of your sight housing. Most sights have a visibility ring, kind of like this one. It's got that white ring there. And that's what you're going off of whenever you're using your peep sight. You just want to line that peep sight housing up with that visibility ring on your sight housing. Like I said, that's super basic stuff. And now getting into a little bit more detail, talking about the actual pins themselves and how you're supposed to use them. So obviously you have your individual pins that you aim with, you know, usually they're for different yardages. For a single pin sight, you just have the one. But when aiming with those pins, you'll notice that you can't focus on both the pins and the target. You have to choose one because our eyes can't naturally focus on something that is both close and something that's far. Like for example, I'm looking into the camera right now. There's a tree behind the camera, but while I'm looking at the camera, it's pretty blurry. I can then shift my eye focus to that tree and see it, you know, clear as day, but then the camera's blurry. We have a pretty short range of focus. So if I try to focus on my pins while I'm aiming, something that's maybe 2.5 feet away from me, then my eyes are not going to be able to focus on the target that is 20, 30, 40, whatever, how many yards away from me. And this throws a lot of people off because then they start thinking that they need a lens in their sight if they don't really know what they're talking about or how to explain it to someone, and it can be really confusing. But to explain, you basically want to use both. So yes, you want to focus on the pin sometimes, but you primarily want to focus on the target. So kind of my way of doing things is whenever I first draw back, my eyes are naturally going to focus on the pin because that's the closest thing, and then I let my vision kind of go past, my focus kind of go past the pins onto the target. So whenever I first draw back and aim on the target, put my pins on the target, my focus is going to be on my pins first, and specifically whichever one I'm going to be aiming with. I just want to get a good idea of where it is, where that fiber optic is, where the pin ends, everything like that. And it's something that becomes muscle memory over time. You just kind of naturally fall into this habit. Making this video actually is very interesting because it's not something I've thought too much about myself. It's something that you just kind of, you build the habit of doing. And you really don't think through these steps, but trying to help people out there that don't know yet. Whenever I first draw back, again, my pin is going to be my primary focus, just settling in, looking through my peep sight. Got my eyes focused on the pins now, and then I'm going to shift that focus to the target. And that is exactly why we have fiber optic in our pins. So people think it's just for, you know, seeing in low light conditions. It helps with that, and that's part of the reason, but that's not the main reason, because if it was just the pin post in there and just that black part, then yeah, it'd give us something to aim with. But whenever you're trying to focus on the target, that pin fiber optic is going to stand out a lot more, and that gives you a reference point of where the end of your pin is and something to aim with that's going to stand out even whenever your eye is not directly focused on it. Even if my eye is focused on something that is 80 yards out there, I'm looking at a deer, you know, and that's what my eye is focused on, I still can see where my fiber optic is, and that's how I aim, obviously, because the fiber optic is pretty bright, and whenever your eye naturally goes to whatever is past it, that fiber optic is going to starburst a little bit. You don't want too much starburst because then you can't be super precise with your aiming, but you want a little bit of that starburst so it can really stand out and you can have a good idea of where the tip of your pin is and what you're aiming at. So like I said, my steps for this is I'm going to draw back, settle into my peep sight, make sure that's lined up perfectly with my housing. My eye right now is focused on my pins, and then I shift the focus to my target, and that's when I start aiming. And whenever you stop trying to focus on both the pins and the target, like shifting your focus, if that makes sense, then you'll notice your pin float goes dramatically down, because whenever you're focusing on your pins, you're just trying to keep it as close, you know, to the 10 ring, whatever it is that you're aiming at, as possible. But whenever you shift the focus to your target, there's less stress about where the pin is, because you're just watching that fiber optic kind of float, and you're just making sure that float stays, you know, where you want to hit on the target. Obviously, your pin float's going to be worst at a further yardage, but really applying these things up close helps whenever you step back, you know, to 70 yards and you're shooting, because then you're going to have a little less pin float, because you've already trained your brain not to focus on the pins, but to focus on the target and let that pin just naturally float where you want it to be. And now, getting into things that you can do in your form to help reduce pin float, the number one thing is going to be how you grip your bow. Now, I did a whole entire video breaking down how you should grip your bow and how it affects your shot. If you want to check that out on the channel, more detail, you definitely can. It's there for you. But to briefly explain, your grip is the one point of contact to your bow, so it matters a lot how you hold your bow. And the best thing to do if you want a steady sight picture without your pin, you know, buzzing all around, whether it's really short and fast, or if it's really long stuff that could play in the stabilizer stuff too, but we're not going to get in that in this video. That's a talk for a different day. But the main thing that you can do, again, is improving your grip. So you want to hold your bow in this section of your hand right here, and you do not want it to cross your lifeline. So the easiest thing to do, put your hand out like a stop sign, rotate it 45 degrees, and there is your bow grip, just like that. Let your fingers gently rest on the front of the riser. And again, that is the best thing that you can do to improve your pin float, to improve your sight picture stability, because it is the one point of contact you have directly to your bow riser. So how you hold your bow matters a lot. And if you have a really tight, you know, tense grip, then that's going to make the pin just absolutely be all over the target, go just insane. And it's going to make it super hard to aim. Then you're going to have target panic because you're punching the trigger as soon as it crosses that 10 ring. So a relaxed grip is what you want, not too much input from either direction in your hand, but primarily from the back of the bow. So whenever you shoot it, it just kind of goes a little forward in your hand and naturally goes where you want it to go. And it makes shooting so much, I guess you could say, less stressful. And I'm sure most of you guys probably know what I mean, because you can get so caught up in your sight picture and holding on target and then punching the trigger and all of this stuff, and it just gets to where it's not even fun anymore. It's just a pain to do, because you feel like you're constantly fighting yourself. And if you can apply these things to minimize how often you're fighting yourself, how much you're fighting yourself, or even your bow, it makes shooting a whole lot more enjoyable. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. Like I said, I have a full in-depth grip video here on the channel. If you want to see it, I'll put it on the end screen right now. And also make sure to check out kodiakgear.us. Final week of running our pre-order special on the harness, and get a good deal on some shirts this Black Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And I'll catch you all in the next one.